Hello and welcome to episode 46 of Celtic Rumours TV, the Bawz Bovril podcast with your hosts, Mark and myself, Paul. Join us on today's show. We will have Michael and Barry, that's Michael Dundee and Iceman from our forum. Our form to the podcast is celticrumours.co.uk, where Celtic supporters discuss all things about Celtic. On today's show, we will look at the latest gossip news around Celtic. It's a big week for Ange and his new look Celtic, starting with a 6-0 win against St Mirren at the weekend. Thursday the 26th, Celtic travelled to Holland for the second playoff round against AZ Almaar. And then the big one on Sunday the 29th, Celtic travelled to Ibrox where Big Ange and his Celtic team get the first taste of the first Glasgow Derby of the season. And finally, should Celtic call out the Scottish FA, the Scottish Police and Rangers football to deal with the thugs singing racist songs about Celtic Japanese striker Kyogo Fugahashi? Firstly, over to Mark for the shoutouts.
Thanks very much, Paul. Just some quick shout-outs to Richie ROH. She started a new round of chemo today, so hopefully that's going to help him. He's due a scan after that. AGG, Glasgow Green, good luck to him as well. He's ongoing fight with cancer and that. Tim Alloy, young Ben and Malika. But now that's us, we're at 469 subs, Paul. We're slowly getting there, but see this thing with YouTube, you need like 1,000 subs with 4,000 hours watched to go on the partnership programme. We're about 3,000 odd hours people watched. Do you know what I mean? We're nearer to that than we're actually getting taken with the subs. So if you've not subscribed, please do so and spread it around and things like that. Like the video, and as I said before, if you know how to comment, even please leave a comment, because that always helps us with the algorithm.
Perfect. Gossip news. Irish League of Ireland player Liam Scales will be joined up with Celtic next weekend. The Shamrock Rovers player will play his last game for the Irish Hoops against Instonian Talent on Thursday the 26th in their Conference League qualifier game. Celtic are in pole position to sign Greek international forward Giacomakis. The deal could be around £3 million fee or £2.5 million fee plus a 15% sell-on clause. German club Brian also interested have struggled to come up with the price tag and have pulled out of the deal to sign the striker and has left Celtic in pole position. Celtic have joined the race to sign Dundee United centre-back Carl Smith. Carl Smith has been watched by a host of English Premier League clubs in the past 12 months. Michael will be on the podcast where we'll get a lowdown on Carl Smith when he joins us on the podcast. Burnley have made up funds to make an offer for Celtic midfielder Ryan Christie. The future of Ryan Christie at Celtic is still up in the air, and with his 6 months left in his contract, no sign of a Celtic contract signed yet. Is it time for Ryan Christie to either sign a contract or get his agents to sort out another club for him going forward? Josef Jankic has become the latest arrival at Celtic after joining the club over the weekend. He will provide competition for Anthony Ratson, who at the moment has become undroppable at Celtic's wing-back position. That's all tonight for gossip news around Celtic. Mark will now get the lads to join. I see Michael's joined us. All right, Michael, do you want to give us a lowdown on this lad, Carl Smith? I read today that there was a host of Premier League clubs watched him over the 12 months last season and stuff.
Yeah, I don't think, before I start, hello to everybody in the chat and that as well. Thanks to Mark and Paul for having us on again.
Well, welcome aboard again, Mikey. Thanks for coming on.
Just literally about 2 seconds in the door, so I've just managed to make it just in time. Kerr Smith, I'd be very surprised. Like he says, no, that's Celtic. Obviously, Celtic are one of the biggest clubs, but if you're interested in this guy to early, like he says, this is. I don't know how long Celtic have been in. I thought he was away to Man United.
Because they've been looking at him as well, haven't they? Yeah, there's a host of the league clubs have been watching him, but mostly the top 6 have been watching him as well closely.
Yeah, so like I say, I'm surprised that like Celtic should be interested in all players that are based out of Scotland anyway. So,
Is he that good, Mikey?
Yeah, he's highly recommended, I think. Yeah, he's highly recommended. But would he'd be probably mostly go down to the United Youth setup if he kind of goes to them, Mikey? Would he kind of resolves and build up into the first team then in maybe a year's time or something, is it?
I'm that confident in the guy as a defender anywhere along the back line that I think if Celtic were to sign him this season, by the end of the season, he'll beat the squad.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm surprised. Like you said, Celtic, I would have thought would have had an interest in him anyway. Like you said, because Celtic should be interested in all players coming out of Scotland.
Yeah, that's what we've seen before. Like that, any top player, Michael, that's in the squads in Scotland, Celtic should be sniffing around them anyway. Do you know what I mean? And I think, as you said there, Celtic have kind of come on late to this guy Stuart Kerr Smith. Sorry.
Yeah, like I said, they maybe never came into it late. Like I said, I would have expected them to have been interested at the start, but it's maybe just been made known now. That's it. But he'll not be cheap.
No,
people think because he's 16 or like he'll demand a fee, and United will definitely want a percentage of this because he'll sell in the future. Obviously, you've got to take injuries, and you need to hope that they develop because there's no guarantees with
like I was looking at some clubs down in England were putting maybe a 3 million, 4 million bid in for him. You know that just to get his signature, to put him straight in there, like just to get him signed up, Mikey.
Yeah, like I said, if we're talking that kind of money, then I'd pass because, like I said, with somebody at 16, there's no guarantees. But before obviously we went in, like I watched.
Did you say we have Jonas with us tonight as well? Yeah.
No.
I thought you said we had. I thought you said Jonas. We've Barry as well, Mark, don't we?
Barry's still here as well.
So, but just before, just going on about like if it's 3-4 million, but that's talked about, then there's no way Celtic should even be considering that. Like, no chance.
Money for Celtic for a 16-year-old.
But Mark, that just shows, Mark, how the clubs down in Scotland rate this player. That like there's talks of this about the money that they want him, and that's big money to be put in for a youngster, like, and especially great money for Dundee United. Like,
that's a first player for us, that kind of.
Yeah, it's just short, Mark, that when we spoke to Jonas about the setup they have down their youth system now, that they're bringing players through, but they're hoping to sell them on maybe they're 21, 22 at an early price, but 16 years old, like they're showing that the big clubs have actually taken notice of what Dundee United are doing in their setup, you know?
It's because, like you say, in the past it's been proven.
Yeah.
Bringing players, like you say, before we move on to anything else, I watched Dundee against Hibs. I'll watch any Scottish game when it's on the TV anyway. And I watched Dundee against Hibs, and the 2-2 draw was a great game to watch. Celtic have got to seriously be considering bringing that Josh Doigan as left back. I mean, he was unbelievable for Hibs again going forward. He'd fit so easy into Ange's style of play as a left back. That young Scottish guy, and he'd cost similar money to what they're wanting for that Kerr Smith. So,
but Barry, that's going back to what you're saying, Barry, as well. Like that Celtic should be in for the likes of Doing, Nesbitt, and all these young Scottish talents. We should be the ones who are the front runners for these players, shouldn't we?
Yeah, well, I think, the Scottish market is the one that you should be looking at first and foremost, because the players that shine in the Scottish market, in the Scottish game, they're the ones that, are established already. These young players that, like Mikey talks about, Doig, there's many of them at many different clubs. They're on your doorstep. They're right under your nose. They're playing against you. They're proving themselves. So, when you go into foreign markets, sometimes there's a number of factors that, could potentially make the move, not a successful one. Things like culture, climate, language. The Scottish market for me is one, like I say, that the Celtic should be exploiting first and foremost. The players that are right under your nose, the players that are excelling in this league are the ones that we should be looking at.
Better as well, but into the standard. I mean, a few years back, really, was there that many young Scottish players that you would have took to Celtic?
No,
many off the top of my head, but see, now you can name maybe 3 or 4 players of the Scottish game that would come in and do a real good job for Celtic right now.
But that's what I put the mark. Like, we're going out, we're selling after the game on Thursday against Talon. Scales will be coming to Celtic. That's a done deal. He will be coming, like, after the weekend, right? But, and I said it on the forum, and I said to Barry and I said to Mikey like that, he's not going to come in straight away and settle into the Celtic team because he hasn't been coming. Like, fair enough, he'd be able to play against like Hamilton, St Mirren, but he's not up to scratch to be playing against the bigger clubs like Hibs. I'd put Dundee United in there. I'd put Kilmarnock. Do you know what I mean, Mark? He's not up to that level yet, so he's going to take at least 3-4 months max to get settled into this Celtic team and to the pace that like, he will be suited to Ange's style of play, but it's going to take him up to speed to get to the level that Ange wants him to play. And there we have, as lads said, there we have Josh Down, who would actually simply fit into that position. Do you know?
Definitely. It's a thing. I mean, Hibs will probably want quite a good amount of money for him. I've seen some places saying like 5 million for that Doig, but if that's the price, I mean, would you pay that? You pay that for somebody in England? Do you get? I mean,
well, Mark, look what we're getting for. Like, this is the value. Like, see, that's what I'm saying. Like our Celtic looking like saying that these players aren't worth it. Like, Doig is worth 5 million. Well, we could see the same, Mark, that half our players aren't worth the 15, 10 million that we're getting for them.
the exact same. We've spoke about it before. It's the kind of.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's always going to be a disparity between us and English prices. Obviously, massive with some of them, but I mean, if Hibs value him at 5 million, and if they can get that for doing in England, they're quite entitled to ask for that for Celtic. Even more so because it's like, see these bigger deals down in England, the prices all got because it's like, well, why would we sell you a player that you could come back and beat us next season to 6th place kind of thing? So Hibs are going to be selling a player that's going to come back, play well against them for years to come and help Celtic.
It's gone back to fucking Arsenal paying over the odds for that the Brighton defender there, 50 million, and United getting Varane for, was it 35, Mike? I think United signed Varane for. You know, like, it's just because they're English-based players, like, in this, you know.
Yeah, but that's what, like, I mean, Mark have spoken about this in the past. Celtic signed Scott Brown for $4.5 million back in 2007, and everybody says that's a hell of a lot of money for a Scottish player. And look what he ended up doing at Celtic. So
Yeah.
Celtic are getting quoted $4 million now for Josh Doig. Then why that was alright to pay it in 2007, so it's certainly alright in 2021.
Aye.
Like,
But that's the
that
market,
guy's a
though.
quality player. Like, yeah, he's a great left back.
That's the market for players of talent now. Like, as Mark said, like, Hibs are rightly to ask Celtic for that type of money. Like, do you know what I mean?
Everybody in the chat, like you said yourselves, Barry, if Celtic signed Josh Doig and he was our left back, you had Doig, Starfelt, Welsh, and you had got Ralph. Like, that's, you're starting to look at a quality side there. Like, I'm not confident in that Josh Doig. He'll be the closest player that you'll get to Kieran Tierney. Like, people like to compare Kieran Tierney to everybody anyway.
Yeah,
He'll be the closest you'll get to him.
That's my thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the closest thing. Like I do have my doubts that Scales will hit. He won't hit the ground running. Do you get me, Mark? He's not ready for this level yet. Do you know what I mean?
I said that on the forum last night.
Yeah.
Paul, I just don't.
I said that. You said it. That.
And like, he's kind of the project. He's the back. He should, for me, Scale should be like the backup left back. Somebody's coming to learn the game. But for me, we still need a first choice left back.
Maybe.
Seems to.
Do you think maybe, Mark? One of the other reasons, well, we're signing was, and I said to Barry as well, because I spoke to Barry about this as well through the Skype as well there the other day, like, because he's so versatile that he can play centre back, left back, and left wing back. Maybe that's why they're looking at Scales as well.
Well, but with what you've said and other people have said, Paul, he's a good enough.
He's a decent player.
Decent player.
And I gave him that.
And,
you know, and like,
aye, and he will get better. But for me, I mean, I'm not meaning this in a snobby way to the League Island, but I just don't think that Scales is at the level to come in.
no,
Take where we want to be quick. We want to be this is the seat. Do you get what I mean?
and that's what I said to Mark.
Yeah, to maybe Scales
Yeah.
are ready to play in the bigger games and that, but for me, he's still.
That's what I said to you, that if Celtic want to go the way Ange and McCoy want us to go, Do you know what I mean? We seriously need to upgrade. Like, you know what I mean? He's not going to come in, and we want some to dispatch Taylor. Do you know what I mean? And he's not going to do that straight away. No, unless he ups his game dramatically, Mark, and do you know what I mean? But at the moment, I just don't see him coming in dispatching Taylor, and that's a worry because that's the only weak link in the first team at the moment is Taylor.
How old is he, Paul?
22.
He's 22. So let's see what he does.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, he could come in and surprise us all, Barry. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, look at maybe Abada. You know, was Abada maybe expected to come in and dislodge Forrest right away? Maybe, you know, he's a 19-year-old guy coming from a different country. It might have been the thought, right? We'll give him 4 or 5 months to settle in and see how he goes. He's come in and been absolutely fantastic.
Is it much hard? I put it this way, Barry, too. Like the attacking forwards, grand, they have their flow, their thing, but is the backline position the hardest point of the team? You know, is there more pressure on them not to concede? Like, I know there's teams will score goals, but is there more pressure, you think, on a backline or a club signing a defender that they have a tougher job on the pitch to maybe keep the ball out of the net?
Well, I think, you know, with the way that Ange plays and the fact he's at Celtic, the left back's going to spend a good 90% of his time attacking anyway. You know, and certainly that's the way that Ange wants his teams to play. So I'd imagine if Scales comes in, he's going to be, you know, the focus will be on him getting forward and his distribution and his link up in an attacking sense. And granted, you know, the left back position is a defensive position, but like I say, 90% of the time you're going to spend your time on the front foot attacking. So, you know, like I say, I don't know anything about Scales, Paul, but you know, I get what you're saying completely. You know, it might take time for him to come and adapt, but at the same time, he might come in and hit the ground running.
That's it. Like, you
see
know,
what plans we've got for him.
Like JFP said, he was talking to a lad from Limerick on Saturday, and he wasn't overly excited. But that's the level that people are saying, no, because he's coming from the League of Ireland. Do you get me?
But don't,
like it doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter where he's coming from.
No, but I don't think it's a kind of signing that you would say you wouldn't get anybody
excited.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. So, like, I'm delighted. Like, someone from the League of Ireland is getting picked up, Mark, for Celtic. Do you know what I mean? And
I don't believe for a minute this is all some kind of favour Dermot Desmond to get money into this club. You know what I mean? People are making this as if Celtic are only buying him because of Dermot.
I was reading how he got recommended to Celtic, Mark. I was reading how he got recommended to Celtic, and it was actually Damien Duff.
I saw somebody saying
that recommended him to Celtic. So, like,
I mean, two months ago, everybody on the forum and that thought the sun shone out of Damien Duff's butt. So now do you know what I mean? When we were questioning a player that he's recommended it. I mean, it's not going to break the bank, £600,000 or whatever. And as I said, a guy who'll come in, obviously he's a young player and he's going to learn under Ange. For me,
I think, Mark, he's not going to be not going to be any worse than what we have there at the moment.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
No.
You know,
as well, it's better than what we've got there than now.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I think.
There's a lot of good players that have come out of the League of Ireland and been successful. You just have to look at the English Premiership to see what they've produced. So
we
just need to hope that this guy's the same. We just need to hope that Scales is the same and he comes in and he maybe surprises a few people. But obviously Celtic have identified him.
There was, yeah. Southampton were looking at him, Bristol were looking at him, Preston were looking at him. You know,
saying there. I mean, if he's got the IE teams down in England, Barry, if they took him out, nobody would be batting an eyelid as such. Do you know what I mean? Because I've done it for years down there. For players for all over the world, basically the English league. I mean, look at Seamus Coleman. I mean, we turned a chance to sign Seamus Coleman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's been a number of players. You know, you even go back to as far as Roy Keane and players like that. You know, over at Nottingham Forest. Like I say, the League of Ireland have produced a right good number of players.
Shawnee McGroy and stuff there that came from Cork City that went to Preston, and he's done well since he's been there as well. Like,
so somebody within the Celtic network has identified Scales as somebody that they think is a good player, and they're going to go out and sign him. And like I say, we just need to hope that he hits the ground running when he comes, and he might surprise a few folk, and he might this time in 3 months might be saying,
because Barry, I watched it because Mark and yourselves know I watched League of Ireland, and and like he is a player, like, you know, he scores goals, like he's not, like he'd be the highest asset at the moment inside the League of Ireland. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the great thing I could give him. And I hope, like, I'm only just saying, like, it's going to give him time, and like Celtic fans being Celtic fans are saying, oh, 600,000, he's not good enough, they should be invested. Just give the lad time, and under Ange, like, we saw what he can do with players already, Barry. You know,
absolutely.
Give the young lad time.
Yeah, and I think, am I right in saying that 600,000 is a League of Ireland transfer
record?
Yeah. So there you go. So it is a bit of an investment. You know, it's not a lot of money in sense.
It's a risk,
you know,
taken for that price, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it's a risk worth taking. Like I say, somebody's identified that this kid has obviously got potential. And, like, obviously, you know, Ange would have had input. He seems to have input in every signing that we've made so far. Mm-hmm. So he's happy with it. He's happy to sanction the deal. He sees that this guy could fit into his system. So, like I say, he's obviously got, I think he's 6'4". He's quite athletic from what Paul, you've seen more of him than me. Mm-hmm. But I've only seen wee clips of him and so on. But, like I say, this is a guy that someone from the Celtic network and scouting network has identified. Andrew's obviously endorsed it, and now we're going to go and sign the guy. So let's see what he could do. Hopefully within the next 2 or 3 months we'll find out that we've got a right good player on our hands.
Mm-hmm. Moving on, another game, another win in the league. Another 6 goals scored against St Mirren. Lee Davida 2, Thornhill got a hat-trick and Edward got 1. Barry, I start with yourself because you haven't been on for a while. The more they're playing on the Ange, Barry, the more comfortable and positive this Celtic side is getting.
Definitely, Paul, definitely. And like we said before, with each game that passes, it's only going to get better and slicker, and the players are going to get more used to the system and what they're being asked to do. And again, it was just a sort of carbon copy. And, you know, you can forget about the fact that they got down to 10 minutes. I really don't think that influenced
made
the
a difference.
I think if Power had stayed on, I think that the scoreline would have been the same. I don't think the fact that they only had 10 men really influenced it. Again, just going back to what Ange's philosophy is, you know, we'll keep on going. He said 17 times, we keep on going. And Celtic did that on Saturday. They kept on going for goal after goal. It was just waves of attack. Again, really attractive football, brilliant to watch, and just continuing the way it's been for the past couple of weeks now in the past 4 or 5 games. Really, really impressive.
And Mark, when Lee Davida came in, we saw kind of a less fluency market down on the right-hand side. But since he came back, I know he was kind of a bit sluggish last week when he came back, but he's back to kind of full fitness again, and he shows again what he can do.
I just came back with a bang, basically, didn't he? I mean, apart from Turnbull, he would easily have been man of the match if it wasn't for Turnbull's performance. But I mean, 2 goals, he got an assist as well, didn't he? And other chances as well. He's just going to get even better. That's the frightening thing about it for me, Paul. That lad Abada is just going to get better, and he's going to tear his league.
That's the scariest thing, Mark, isn't it? That he's only 19 and he's getting better, and he will get better and better. And, you know,
look at the way he's playing right now. He's only been here a few weeks. Don't know how many games he's actually even played, 4 or 5. And that, I mean, again, I know it's St Mirren, I know they were doing it to 10 men, blah, blah, blah. Again, they're still putting in that level of performance for a young lad that's just arrived in the country. And Barry said the full team again. I mean, the defence had nothing to do really all day. But, I mean, they're going forward, the way they're passing the ball and moving about, and that is, it's brilliant to watch. It really, really is.
And like Thornhill again, like 2 goals again. He got the previous game a hat-trick, and we said that he was kind of looked a bit slow kind of at the start of the season on Ange, but he's really after coming into this position now as well and showing us what he can do.
It's going to take time for all the players to get used to the Skpe wants to play, because look at like the tempo that he plays at the whole game. It's going to take time for fitness. Like you say, fitness levels have been poor for a few seasons now anyway.
Yeah.
So it's going to take time, but like it says, Turnbull, again, a few people were doubting him, including myself at the start of the season, because he looked a bit off the pace, but he's just proven, like it says, how Celtic waited so long even after injury and still signed the guy, because he's he scored a hat-trick. He could have scored 5 or 6.
He could have had easily. Mikey could have had 5 or 6.
When was the last time we had a midfielder
Score a hat-trick.
That I think it was it no Nakamura maybe, and I think it was maybe against Dundee United at Tannadice that scored a hat-trick for midfield.
Your memory will be better.
When's the last time we had two players this season score a hat-trick? So we had Kyogo the week before. Do you know what I mean? Like there's goal scorers all around this team, isn't there?
Well, Kyogo doesn't score, and he still scores 6 goals.
Yeah.
And Kyogo could have had a couple himself probably as well. I mean, they missed just a couple of yards out, man. That was.
But that's him, Mark, just getting kind of people have to get. He's only getting settled in as well, because I see it on the. I saw it on the forum. There. I don't know who put it up, and one said, lads, forgive me for being negative, but Kyogo misses the simplest of chances, and we're looking going.
Pelter, man. Yeah. To be fair, I did know what he was meaning.
Yeah, we're looking going. Yeah. Like that, relax a small bit. Like, he's only human as well, Mark, isn't he?
But I mean, when you see his goal, like Rogic set him up for the other week. Do you know what I mean? The kind of volley, kind of mid-air volley, and then to see him missing that on Saturday, you just think, well, that's a tap in. But I mean, better players than Kyogo have missed sitters. They have done, and they will do in the future. So it's no big deal. It's just, well, if Celtic's playing the way they're playing, you're wanting everyone to hit the back of the net, really, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. Barry, I want to go back to the start of the season when Ange came in, his first training session, he had the mic on. He said, we never stop, we don't stop. We stop at half time, and then we go again, and then we stop at 90 minutes when we celebrate. Stephen Welsh came out today and he said, at half time, up 4-0. Ange's first words to them when they came in is, sit down, get your breath, because we're going to go at the same tempo. We're not going to stop because they're a man down and they're 4-0. And we're 4-0 up. We're going to keep going, and we're going to keep scoring. It's just showing his philosophy that what he said that first training session, we don't stop and we never stop.
Definitely. And you know what? It's a refreshing mentality to have. Because, I said previously, I think I said it for the Dundee game as well, that the easy and natural thing to do when the game's over, which it was by half time, 4-0 up, the game's dead, is to just take your foot off the pedal. But this is a mentality that he's trying to install in these players, that no, the job's only half done. We'll go out, we'll go again, we'll keep on going. And they did, and we could have had, umpteen goals. It could have been double figures. I know that's a figure of speech, but it really could have been double figures on Saturday.
I think we're going to hit somebody with double figures if we keep playing.
Like, Mark, 3 games,
4 shots in goal, and
3 games and 12 goals. 12 goals in 3 games. Like, I can't remember in 2 months last season Celtic ever having 12 goals scored.
But
do you know what I mean?
104 shots, Paul.
Yeah.
Games. That's
ridiculous. Like, it's ridiculous stats that we're getting. Like, and the best thing about it is too, like, we're not leaking silly goals as well. Like, that's another good clean sheet as well, Barry, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. And as Mark touched on, the defence had very little to do. They really didn't have much to do, but that's just purely down to the fact that Celtic just never let up. They just kept on going. There was no periods in time. Normally within a game of football, you can get, even against your likes of St Mirren's and Dundee's, you can get a little sort of 5-10 minute period where they have a wee bit of pressure, but that really never arrived.
But that's his philosophy working then, Barry, isn't it? Attacking from the front.
It's his philosophy, and this is what he's instilling into the team. And, we're reaping the benefits of it because the team are coming out and they're doing exactly what he's wanting to do. And the thing is, the more he instills that into them, the more it becomes natural. It becomes natural to the whole group of players that, games like that, with your 4-0 up at half time, you keep on going, you don't let up, you keep on going. Because who's to say, if it's a tight league, goal difference could make all the difference, but it's more the performance, than the goals. The goals will come. We've got such attacking players and goals within that team, but the actual level of performance and the fact that, like I say, it's just attack after attack after attack, and that's been like that for now the last 4 or 5 games, and it's just been absolutely fantastic to watch. And he's brought the real feel-good factor back to the stands and back to everybody that's watching Celtic just now. That's it, Michael. It's the feel-good factor that he's brought back, and Celtic fans now are excited to go to the stadium and watch the club. Like, I'm not saying excited to go to, but compared to last season, being on the downers and
Do you know?
That's what the fans are just wanting to just see a team that's trying to win a game of football. Celtic supporters, like says, people like I've said loads of times, we never had the self-entitlement that we should win everything all the time.
Yeah,
like,
we can take defeat, and exactly.
Like I'm not going back to last season, but like it says, but this is what I mean. I just want to watch, like it says, wingers attacking football. That's what everybody wants to watch. Nobody wants to watch a team sitting with 10 men. And what I'm like really looking forward to this season is I always got the fear in past seasons, even with Brendan Rodgers, that when a team parks the bus,
he doesn't know. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think now with the players that we've got and more to come in, I mean, teams can park the bus all they want. It's only going to be a matter of time before you get broke down, and that's a comforting thing to know that from everywhere on the pitch, everywhere, it looks like goals can be scored. I wouldn't be surprised if Joe Hart gets a goal this year. You know what I mean?
What formation do you think we're lining up on?
Congo.
It's got to be a 2-4-4, is it?
That's it. It's like a Congo. Do you remember that in FIFA years ago when you're losing, you type in formation that says Congo, like everyone goes up front. That's what it looks like, don't it?
So, like I said, you listen to it, like it says, it looks like two centre backs sit back. When you look at the full backs,
it's like a 6-man midfield when the two full backs come up, like.
And then you've got the guys up front. Like I says to you, it's just a free roll up front just now.
It's kind of it's
moving and chopping us. That's the best about it.
I spoke to Mikey about it. It was some people put up their own wee graphics of how the team set up, but it was one of the Celtic sites I seen it on Twitter, and he had it set up. It was like a 4-1-4-1, and you think, well, do you know what I mean? McGregor just sitting in front of the defence being the playmaker, and then your two. Do you get what? It was weird, but it made sense. But then you see other lineups of the 4-2-3-1. But is that for me? For me, the it's hard to pinpoint actually how they're going to set up on the park.
Not one of our forwards, Max, stays in one position. Do you get me? They're chopping and changing all the time, and no one knows who's picking up who. And that's something that Mikey said there. Like, we failed to break down, even under Brendan Rodgers, like he said, and last season, Liam Lennon never had a plan to break down teams who sat back 11 men against the ball. But this movement, you know what I mean?
Dundee set up, even the way.
Yeah, they tried to do that. Yeah, they tried to do it.
Hearts started with 5 at the back, and then most of the time there was like 7 of them at the back, and we still went out and picked them apart. That was the hit we spoke about it under Lennon, even under Rodgers, or that we sideways passing. I mean, I think in Rodgers' mind it was like doing in England, if you're passing it about the back, the teams are going to come on to you.
Exactly.
8 spaces further up, but no, if you're Celtic playing in Scotland, they're quite happy.
Like,
they're in half and let us pass.
No team, a team now in Scotland might be mad to try and attack Celtic because they're just going to open up our attack.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
That would be craziness to come out and complain about Celtic.
One thing I want to say though is that just because we're winning, we're not scoring goals. There's no need for Ange to listen to Kenny to put beat on back in that back line.
You're just jealous of that big handsome woman nose in that, isn't it? Like,
I know what, it was good to see him celebrate with the group and the players when Aberdeen got the first goal, because last season, kind of when we scored a goal, there was a whole distance between our backroom staff. But this year, to see the backroom staff celebrating, like it's good, isn't it?
That was because of COVID, Paul. We'll just use that as an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but I mean, even we're talking about like the way the team all look as if they're playing together.
But it's going down to the backroom staff are playing together back in this.
Paul B. Gavin Stratton sitting there with
exactly,
and he's showing the players are coming on the park and he's showing them.
And they know what they're doing.
He's showing them on this. I don't know what he's showing them, dirty films or something. But he's saying this is what we want you to go out here and do. This he's pointing out to them what he was doing. And for me, Lennon just never bought into that kind of side of the game. I think that was probably one of his major downfalls. But
you know what the benefit? You're going to Strachan there. You're looking at Strachan there, and Kyogo now with his lack of English and stuff like that. And if he has Strachan pointed to him what he wants him to do in the tablet, it's easy for Kyogo to understand the tactics that Ange wants him to do, isn't it?
You know? football's a universal language
Yeah.
when it comes to kind of visual tactic stuff and that. But I said before, I knew Gavin Strachan was highly rated. What he does, I'm not 100% sure. It's a bit beyond my kind of comprehension, but he was well rated. And well, Angie's obviously looked at him and
Reaping the benefits off him, yeah.
think so. I mean, if
Yeah.
Angie's came in, we said it at the time, we've got to give Ange. I still think he'll bring in one or two coaches he's in at least, plus before we even go into like sports science and stuff. But
Mhm.
for me, Kennedy's proven to Ange, Stratton as well, proven to Ange that they can do a good job for him.
Mm-hmm. But Barry, it's going back to what Mark said there. Like, it's not just the first team that look positive and happy at the moment. The whole backroom staff seem united as well, unlike last season, don't they? There's no kind of rifts between them and the backroom staff or anything like that anymore.
Yeah, well, I mean, the reason obviously they all look a bit happier is because we're getting the results.
Mm-hmm.
You know that, and we weren't getting the results last year, but it's obviously refreshing to see it, and hopefully that there is a bit of unity within them. You'd like to think that there's a relationship between, you know, if Kennedy and that staying, which it looks likely that they will, you'd like to think they're all singing off the same hymn sheet and there is a bit of unity within that department. But I agree with Mark. I still think that Ange will bring in a couple of bodies. He kind of said that right now his focus is the transfer window and assembling his squad, but once the transfer window closes, he's going to have a look at other things. And I do expect that to be maybe bringing in a coach or an assistant manager within the group to come in and join that staff. But it's definitely, when you see them celebrating goals and things like that, you know, you can see that there obviously is a pretty decent relationship amongst them.
Like you're looking at coaches there, right? And I was looking at Manchester United there yesterday against Southampton, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has 3 coaches around him. He has the fella Mike Phelan, Carrick, and the other fella is a Kitchen, I think, like that. So I think that's his name is. But like he's 3 kind of first, they'll be kind of his 2 assistants, and Mike Phelan then is his actual assistant. Do you know what I mean? So you need kind of different voices as well around you, just not one coach or 2 coaches.
Name out how many coaches you put around Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It's not going to make him a good manager. Honestly, I can't believe he's a manager of Man United. That's just crazy beyond belief.
Compared to what managers are actually out there now, Mark. Do you know what I mean? What they could have got.
Big Ange would have ran amok at Man United. He really would have.
Without doubt, with the players they have, wouldn't they? Rashford, you Lingard, you Sancho, Jesus.
He'd probably even get Pogba tries it.
And then you have a defensive manager who plays 2 defensive midfielders in that Manchester United team.
I mean that Fred. I don't know how he's a professional football player, to be honest, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
He's up there with like Raphael now. He's one of the worst Brazilian players I've ever seen.
He's an accident waiting to happen. That's what he is, yeah. You know, but just it's good to have some different coaches around you, Barry, isn't it? To get a different view of maybe different coaches and different games or something, is it?
Well, you know, the ones you've just mentioned there as well, it's all different levels of experience as well. You know, you've got Mike Phelan, who, you know, has been in the game for decades, and Michael Carrick, who's, you know, sort of a fresh young coach. But, you know, I think as well, like we spoke about it previously with regards to our own club and, you know, Ange, I kind of had the opinion that, you know, to bring in his own sort of backroom staff or you know, assistant manager and coach, it would have helped him settle into the country. Well, I mean, he's been here for a good wee while now, but he knows the relationships of his past assistant managers, and he knows who works well with and who he doesn't. But like I say, we don't know. It could be that he's really fancying the staff that he's got there just now and maybe doesn't feel the need. But I kind of thought it from, you know, a point of view of settling into the country. But I know he's got his wife and his family over now. But yeah, like I say, it would surprise me if he didn't bring in at least one.
Even Rogic is kind of helping him get used to the.
Oh yeah, settle into the vibe. Yeah, exactly. You know, show him a supermarket that sells kangaroo meat.
But I seen that he's mentioned that his family and that, so that's obviously going to help him get settled in as well.
Has Rogic kids, Mark? Is he?
What?
Has Tom Rogic married and kids in Scotland? Or do they live in?
Oh,
does he have kids?
I don't know. I don't know him that well.
That's one thing. Like I don't know if Rogic would have kids. Mikey, you'll have to suss that out. Going on to player ratings, lads. Look, Barry, start with yourself because it's the first time you came on. If you want to start with the first team and work your way through it.
Yeah, no, as well. I gave Hart a 7. I don't think he had really much to do, but anything he did do was pretty assured. And like I said, just that sort of confidence of having him in the goal. I gave Ralston an 8 because I just think that that's the level he's at just now. I think that, you know, he's not dipping below that. I think every game that passes, he's
getting better.
He's so comfortable on the ball, which I don't think he's always been. So he's really, you know, riding high on the crest of a wave just now. Also gave Welsh an 8. I think his sort of distribution, again, whilst he didn't have a great deal to do defensively, I think he's, you know, starting to attach his distribution. He's sort of driving forward, kind of the way Ayer did when he played in there. So I gave him an 8. I gave Starfelt a 7. I don't think he really put a foot wrong. Again, you know, not great deal to do defensively, but I don't think he made any mistakes. Same with Taylor. I also gave him a 7. I gave McGregor an 8. You know, whilst I don't think he was spectacular, I just think he's the one that, you know, that was said before, everything started off with him. You know, he started off the majority of attacks. Turnbull, I gave a 9. You know, I don't think it needs much explaining. Hat-trick, could have had a couple more, just absolutely fantastic, creating the whole lot. Christie, I gave a 7. Again, I think, you know, he had a solid enough game, nothing too spectacular. Kyogo also gave a 7. I thought it was a wee bit quieter. I don't think he's probably as effective on the left as he is through the middle. Abada, I gave a 9. Again, you know, his 2 goals, a constant threat, a constant menace to their fullback, very direct, a joy to watch. And I gave Edward an 8. You know, he got his goal. He raised his game a bit, you know, because of the way Kyogo's been playing. Subs, Rogic I gave a 5. Sorrow gave a 5. You know, they come on sort of later in the game, didn't really have a great deal to do. Ayete, I actually gave a 6 to Ayete because I thought he showed a pretty decent attitude when he came on. He had a part in the Turnbull's last goal. You know, he won the ball back by chasing down, and he was stronger than the guy. So I gave him a 6, and the man of the match overall was Turnbull.
Mark, yourself, what?
Me, I gave Joe Hart a 6, Paul, just because he had nothing to do, really. But that was really it. Just he didn't have a save to make.
Is it comfortable that we're not talking about a keeper and a keeper's mistakes, Mark, in the game this season? Isn't it?
Does make some change, aye.
You know,
Ralston, I gave a 7. Good performance. Wasn't needed to do much defending. Welsh, I gave a 7. An easy after, the easy game done to do well. Starfelt, I gave a 7, just the same again. He looked steady enough, but it was an easy afternoon. And one thing about Starfelt, hopefully that kind of maybe helped his confidence.
gives him confidence, yeah, exactly, Mark. And you know, because there was a lot of kind of pressure from Celtic fans on Twitter, as we spoke about the last. Like, hopefully that gives him a bit of confidence now, Mark, don't it?
It was comfortable enough for him. It has to do much, but that was maybe a plus. Taylor, again, I gave a 7. He didn't, again, nothing to do defensively, but I thought he did a decent enough game, and he set up Abada as well, didn't he, for the goal? I thought he'd done well with that.
Nice class.
McGregor, I gave a 7. I just didn't think the way he's been playing up to that high standard kind of thing, but it was good to think to see him actually getting taken off as well when the game's done and dusted. There's no need for Caleb, we've spoke about it, no need for McGregor to play every minute of every game kind of thing. Turnbull, man of the match, just thought excellent, just an excellent performance all around for him. Hat trick. For me, he was pulling the strings more than McGregor. Turnbull for me was the kind of heartbeat of the team, so he was my man of the match. Ryan Christie didn't do as well. He's been doing other games recently, but he did a decent enough game. But I still don't like him, so I only gave him a 6. Abada, he was another one that could have been man of the match, as I said earlier on. 2 goals, 1 assist. Just that guy, just what a talent he is. He really is. I know Mikey waxed lyrical about him when we were signing him and things like that, but he really is. He's blew away all.
It's well, Mark. Like,
blew away my expectations, even for what Mikey had said about him and things like that. Kyogo, I thought he still although he didn't score or that, he set up 2 goals. He was always putting in his shift, running about, chasing the ball, doing that. So I gave him a 7. Edward, I put in a decent shift and got a goal, so I gave him a 7. Sorrow, I gave him a 5, just to come in and just tidied things up, kept it ticking over. Rogic came on and kept the forward momentum of the team. He carried that one, so I gave him a 5 as well. And Ayeti I just gave a 4 because he wasn't on very long. But as Barry says, he seemed to do a fair bit of running about.
Just going on that, Mark. Ayeti, can you see him after these kind of performances now, and that he seems to be getting fitter and fitter? That maybe he will be still part of Ange's plans. Because it.
I don't think so, Paul, but a big push for me, I think. Gave him more chances and more game time than he has if he had really any plans for him. Because we said before, when he came on in pre-season, you could tell he'd lost a bit of weight and he was looking a lot fitter. So how much
more can you do, Mark, not to start? You know what I mean? That the big question is there, like, is that just so uncertainty around Edward and Ayeti still not getting a kind of a proper look in there. Do you know what I mean? Like getting a few minutes here and there. Like I think Ayeti could be moved on. You know, if not this transfer, maybe in January, Mark, or something like that, he could be moved on.
Well, I've said his agent's been talking about Europe, kind of idea for a while, but I don't know if anybody's actually showed any kind of concrete interest in him yet. But as the window gets on, Paul, you know what happens yourself with the window.
Exactly.
Players, do you know what I mean? Players that weren't on clubs' radars all of a sudden come on their radar because they can't get the first, second, or third pick or whatever it is.
Man of the match, so was yourself, Mark Turnbull as well, yeah?
Turnbull was my man of the match, Paul, aye.
Yeah. Mikey, yourself what? Mikey, you there?
So yeah, you want my player ratings, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
I gave the goalkeeper and the bench all 7s.
Mm-hmm.
Like he says, anybody that watched the game can see that it wasn't exactly under at all, but whatever they needed to deal with, they dealt with well. I gave McGregor a 7, Christie a 7, Edward a 7, Kyogo a 7. I gave Abada a 9, and I gave Turnbull a 10, just because if any midfielder gets a hat-trick. I mean, that's some going, is it? So, that was my ratings. I didn't really do the subs like.
That's all right, boy, because when he came on a few minutes. Barry, I spoke to the lads about our new signing there on the last podcast, Yavshik, and when he's coming in, he's going to find this a bit of a task to ship Ralston from the right back position, isn't he?
Oh, without a doubt. You know, there's no way now that Ralston can be dropped. You know, I think Juranovic is going to have to bide his time. You know, if you turn the clock back, you know, to the start of the season, you know, the early games, we're all crying out for somebody to come in there and take Ralston's place. But you know, you've got to give massive credit to Ralston for the way he sort of stepped up, and he's dealt with the criticism. You know, he's dealt with the pressure and the fact that, you know, people just thought he was not good enough, and he's really stepped up. And I don't know who it was. There was somebody actually at the weekend there. It was one of the TV pundits who said, you know, he's now got to be in recognition for an international call-up. I don't know if I agree with that, but, you know, the Scotland squad's going to be announced very soon. But from where he was maybe 3-4 weeks ago to where he is now, it's just been a huge improvement. And like I say, massive credit goes to the kid. But you're absolutely right, Paul. You know, Juranovic, for as good a player he is, and the fact that we've spent a bit of money bringing him in, he will have to bide his time, because just now there's no way you can drop Ralston.
Mark, we spoke about that as well yourself, like that. Like, he's not going to come straight into the team. Like, and if Ralston has proper competition, it's good for Celtic as well. Like that, we have proper competition in this. Something we never had for a good few seasons. This right back position, isn't it?
Well, even like that aside about just players coming in, I mean, well, obviously David McCarthy didn't have a full pre-season, so that's one of the problems with him now, getting his fitness up. But I mean, David McCarthy's starting at the bench kind of idea most of the games, and Juranovic will just need to come in. And it would be totally unfair. It would be a Neil Lennon type of decision.
Yeah.
Ralston, like we've done with the young left back Montgomery, is it? He's Montgomery, Paul.
Like, exactly.
Right, so Ralston, until Ralston is either out injured or has a loss of form or needs, and let's be honest as well, he does need, he would be getting rested if he did have another right back as well, so maybe that would be why.
That's what Ange said, is that because he plays such a high tempo game that players would need rest, and he needs players in positions to be basically Mark to be able to rest players. Like, I like the idea what Mikey was saying, maybe throw him off to the left and see if he can do a job there. You know?
Plus, I think as well, Buzz might be able. I think Ralston's the only player under Ange that's played every single minute since Ange has come in.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's the case. Ralston's played every single minute, so you will need a rest. But like I say, there's no way you can drop him out of the team the way he's performing.
No, you can't drop him our performances. Again, if Ange decides to rest him and Juranovic comes in and odds onto the jersey, again, it's back down to Ralston. But I mean, really, that's a good choice. We've got the new into it. It's a choice we never envisaged. Is that the word?
Because, man, at the start of the season, we didn't even think of Ralston being even a backup at Celtic. We didn't, like, you know what I mean? And
wrote him off. Everybody wrote him.
And that's what we like to see, isn't it, Mark? Players prove us wrong.
No hair him to the lad. No, I mean, we weren't heavy slagging him off. We just said he was never going to be good enough to be a Celtic player. And I mean, he's rammed the words right back down our throats, to be honest.
Exactly.
It's a fair play to him for doing that and knuckling down and applying himself and obviously he's really buying into what Ange is trying to do. So, I mean, good to the lad. The way he's playing now, I'd have another contract in front of him for I know he's
cut him down.
Aye, I'd have a get him tight.
Exactly, Mark.
He's really proved himself for these last few games. He has got a future in Celtic.
Exactly. I think as well, Mikey, the only downfall at the moment is that we don't know what's happening with Christie and Edward, and that they seem to be kind of dragging on every day now, don't they, Christie and Edward?
Well, like I say, hopefully Lovric coming in for Christie and Giacomakis for Edward. It looks quite obvious that they'll be away at the end of the thing. Like I say,
I think that's nearly a done deal, isn't it? Giacomakis, isn't that's nearly it's practically nearly a done deal now at this stage, isn't it?
Well, that'll be good for you, Paul, because his nickname's Jacko, so that'll be easier for you to say than Giacomakis.
Well, thanks for that, Mikey. So I'll stick to that, Jacko.
Exactly, that's what he gets called. So, but Giacomakis coming in and hopefully Lovric coming in. Like I say, I'm not wanting any uncertainty in a squad. Just
exactly.
Problem. So, like I say, let Christie move on, get Edward move on for some decent dough, get Lovric in, get Giacomakis in, get Doigan, maybe Ferguson as well, and everybody's happy.
No, but see, right, without Ferguson, right, the other, right, we're talking about Doig earlier on, if we did bring him in, but if we get that Lovric and Jacko in, I mean,
some signing, some transfer window.
It's an unbelievable window.
Because you think of it, Mark, in 2 months, and if we sign those players, that's a whole starting 11 on top of what we already have there, on top coming into an already winning team.
And plus, Paul, it's the quality, it's the actual quality of the signings. I mean,
like we obviously, we've stayed back there.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's a massive name. James McCarthy, years of experience in the Premier League coming in. That Lovric, the way Mikey goes on about him, kind of thing, Kyogo, Abida, the way they're all playing in that. I mean, it really is. It's because the best transfer window in my
we had in years.
Supporter.
Because, Mark, we were constantly saying, and we were saying to Barry Michael as well, that we want to be signing players who were coming in and improving in what we have, like better than what we have. And we've certainly been doing that now, haven't we? You know?
Well, it needed to be first team players coming in. I mean, I know people moan about projects, this projects, that. We will still be signing players that are projects because that's the way Celtic needs to run as a club. But we all knew that we needed X amount of first team ready players. There was no point in going out and buying all young players that were going to take a while to settle. And Ange's he's kind of mixed it up and he's delivered with everything. He's delivered unbelievably to a level that we can't really. We shouldn't be at that kind of level already. That's what I'm.
Exactly.
Everything just seems to have clicked into place.
It seems like we have a CEO now, Barry, that actually listens to our manager and he knows the kind of players the manager wants and lets him have this say on the final signings, which should have been Celtic maybe for the last 10 years, but it wasn't happening under the Peter Lawwell era.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what seems to be the case, but it seems to be the relationship. I mean, right from the off, I think you could see there was a relationship there between Dominic Mackay and Ange. And obviously, like I say, they're all singing from the same hymn sheet. Ange has said himself he's, playing a heavy part in the recruitment and the players that are coming in. And that's really what you need, in my opinion. You don't want CEOs to be signing players that maybe a manager doesn't fancy, or which, has happened in the past. I think they've got the balance right. They've got the balance right in the sense that they all seem to be singing from the same hymn sheet, all working together to put a squad together that's going to give Ange the platform to then go on and base his philosophy and get the team playing attractive football, which is what he said he wants to do from the start. But obviously, in order to do that, he needs to get the right players in the door to fit the style, and that seems to be what's happening. So far, I don't think there's not been any sort of early signs that any of the signings made aren't really up to task. They all seem to be performing to a certain level. And like I say, I think there will be more. I mean, I think we can all agree there's going to be, I think there's 8 days left of the transfer window. There'll be plenty of comings and goings between now and then. I'm pretty certain of that.
I'm expecting at least maybe 3, if I'm honest. I think a striker, a left forward, maybe Lovejack if he comes in, and I think it'd be Scales. But if there's another left back coming in there, I would be happy. Like a lot of people say, we need another centre back. Can we see another centre back coming in, Mark? Do you think?
I'd maybe Julian. I mean, we've still got Julian to come back as well. So that's just where I would maybe look at bringing in a loan sign.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I know I moan about them, but I've said it as well. There's a time and a place where loan signings can work out for just, even if it is just keeping your numbers up and getting some half-decent young player, Man City's youth, that's going to come up and even train with the first team and be out in the sniff.
Even if he got this Japanese lad or something like that on loan, Mark, or something like that,
I think he's no away to somebody else already.
I don't know.
That was at the Olympics.
Yeah, see, where is he?
I think he's gone. I think he's gone to Schalke.
Schalke, that was who it was. Aye.
Schalke, is it? So that's out anyway. So.
No, but see somebody like something like that.
Yeah.
It was a quite. I mean,
there's players there, Mark. Like
the players that would, young players that would enjoy coming in, and even I mean, they're going to come to Celtic and leave in a 6 months or a year's time being a better player after working under Ange. So I would, unless Julian was,
because the thing with Julian, Mark, he seems to be getting setback after setback. When he's due to come back, he seems to have another setback. Like, I think Julian's going to be kind of a hit and miss this season with injury.
He always has been. I think if Julian had been fit this year, he'd have been moved on. Like this window, I think if he'd been fit, I think he would have been moved on. He was looking for a move last summer, so I don't know why anything would have changed when he's just sat on his backside for most of this that last season.
And at the moment, like, I can't really see where Julian would fit in at the moment, because like Welch has stepped up to the plate. Starfelt, he had to think, but he'd grow into that position. Like, what I mean? Like, you really do need another centre back, because you don't want to be relying on Bison to step back in there either. So you don't,
Yeah, I always think that at any club you need 4 centre backs, and I know that there'll be the argument, the case that only 2 can play at one time, and I get that, but for me you need 4 and like Mark's touched on many times before, Celtic play enough games in a season whereby you can still give 4 centre backs plenty of game time, and then you've also got the likes of things like injuries and suspensions and things like that. So I've always been of the opinion that with a system, if you play 4 at the back, if you play 2 centre halves, you should have 4 good at the club. And like you say, Paul, just now we've got sort of 2 fit ones in Welsh and Starfelt. Julian's coming back. If any of them pick up injuries or suspensions, you are reverting back to Beaton.
Yeah,
and that's
a risk. Like, straight away, you'll know that Beaton is going to make a mistake.
I would love to see another centre back coming in. I like that. I was kind of thinking along the same lines as yourself, Mark. We don't necessarily have to go and spend big money. We could look at the loan market.
I'd be even happy, Mark, to promote Bosman Law up to the first team rather than have Beaton in that back line.
Are they allowed to do that with the rules or that, Paul?
He can still get caught up once he hasn't. He can still be caught up now.
He seems to be strolling through that.
Without a breeze, with a breeze, Mark. With a breeze, what I'm reading about and what the lads are saying, JFP, John was saying it to us, Mikey said it to us, like this fella would be a step up, like 2 steps up than Beeson, because he's a defender and he can read the ball. Like Barry, I don't care what people say or things like that. Like, they're in the end of their careers that they can, because they played a defensive midfielder all their life, that they can slip back into the back line. They still don't know how to play with no players behind them.
I agree with you. I don't like players playing out of position. You know, I listen. I understand players can slip into a position or step in there, but no, I wouldn't have no problem with what you're saying with Loyal Boss-in-law. I mean, he was getting big raps. At Watford wanted to keep him. The boy Troy Deeney said he's one of the best young players that he's seen coming through the ranks at Watford. So these guys' opinions obviously
when we
mean a lot.
signed him, Mark, I was buzzing. When we signed him, I was buzzing. That Celtic got him, I really was. Like, this fella, lads, is brilliant. Like, and like you, Mark, and lads, and he's just strolling in the lowdown leagues. And even the Colts team themselves, Mark, seem to have got a good rhythm in the Colts league as well, haven't they?
Seems to have picked up a bit after it did a bit of a sticky start, didn't they?
Moving on from the St Mirren game, the next game then is the second leg of the Europa League playoff. It's a big game for Celtic to get into the Europa League groups, as we don't want to be kind of dropping down to the Conference League. The 2-0 up mark thing, is it comfortable for Celtic, or do we still need to be careful in this tie?
I don't think it's comfortable, but I'm confident we'll get through. I don't see us losing over there, Paul. I really don't. I mean, they didn't. I said it on my review of the home game. I didn't think. Although they harassed us and done their pressing well and all that, I didn't wasn't that impressed with them. It's like a good team. Do you get what I mean? To me, they were like one of the, I keep going on about it, one of the well-organised, well-drilled teams, but we contained it.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't find a spark. They didn't have much. You know what I mean, there's nothing special about them.
Mikey, do you think maybe past Celtic teams in Europe, like, or away from Europe, hasn't been that great in previous years? Could that play into some effect here, or is it that be totally wiped out on the Ange what they did in previous seasons?
Like you said, I just kind of see like what I don't understand as well is obviously the Eredivisie has just started. They're well behind us in games played, and Dutch football, rightly or wrongly, help teams out in Europe to give them players rests and stuff. And what I didn't understand is AZ's game at the weekend was rescheduled, so they had more time to prepare for the Celtic game. Surely, like says, you need to play more games. I just think Celtic are just too far ahead just now in the preparation, and I already commented on AZ's defence in the past. I just kind of see their defence keeping Celtic out.
Especially when they have to kind of attack as well, as going to open up space for us, isn't it?
Yeah, like says AZ, I think they will score, but there's no way that team are stopping Celtic from scoring either. And we're having a 2-goal cushion. It's got to look good for Celtic, is it?
Barry, yourself?
I wish I was as confident as what Mark and Mikey are. I'm not confident that we're. You know what? It's always me as well, Mark.
Yeah, but like Barry, I put it this way to you: like, you're going on
Viking blood in you.
you're going on past experience from Celtic, and we do fall in Europe. Do you know what I mean? And that will pay into it.
I went to the game last week, and you know what? Celtic were fantastic. Going forward, there's still that wee bit doubt at the back, and I think they showed me enough last week to think that it will be a game. We're in for a game on Thursday. I think they were a wee bit wasteful in front of goal. If I'm perfectly honest, they could have scored a goal or two. But then, like kind of what Mikey says, we've got goals in that team. And I think it'll be interesting to see what Team Ange goes with, because if it was me, I'd be putting Kyogo through the middle. And if that means dropping Edouard out, so be it, because I just think that he'd be a much bigger threat to that back four or the defence at Alkmaar.
The sharpness is gone when Edouard comes into the team, Mikey. The movement up front isn't as less fluent. Do you get me? You know, like they don't seem to be. Edouard kind of is more still, that as like Kyogo would move around and he'd make the space for other players. You know.
Yeah, I mean, Kyogo doesn't stop. He's continually on the move, and I've said it before. It's an absolute nightmare for defence. See players that don't give him a second, that don't like stand still, like Edouard does. Edouard's more static. That's his style. It's not a criticism. That's his style. He likes to sort of stand and be this in the central areas. But see, from a defensive point of view, that's quite easy to mark. Whereas Kyogo, he just wanders, he drifts off, he looks to go in behind, he presses, you know, he is non-stop. So for me, he'd be a bigger concern for them than what Edouard would be. But yeah, I mean, I actually think that they're a better team than what I thought they were. I'm not saying Celtic aren't going to go through. I still think Celtic are in a great position. It just so happens that, you know, with the away goals not counting, it's a wee bit disappointing, because I think it potentially goes against us in this case.
I've said that, last week. We didn't want it. They couldn't last week, but they would suit us if they couldn't it this week, wouldn't it?
Exactly. But you know what?
Barry, there's no way Celtic's got to go there and lose three clear goals.
I hope you're right, mate. I hope you're right. No,
that would be.
I know what you're saying. You know what? It's going to be interesting.
Look, even looking at the team, the way they're playing, as Mikey says, you just can't see them keeping Celtic out.
Well, that's the thing. It's going to be interesting because I don't think Ange will set up any differently. I don't think he's going to say, well, you know, let's protect the 2-0 lead. I think he's going to go out there and kill the tie.
That's what I was going to ask you about. Like, do you think Ange will go defensive? Like, I don't think he's going to ever be a manager who will defend in the game.
I don't, because for the simple reason as well, not only is that goes against his philosophy, but we're particularly vulnerable at the back still, in my opinion, just now. So to actually try and protect you, for me, you're dicing with danger. So I think he's going to send them out the same way, go and try and get a hold of the game. But that team are decent. They you know, I've seen enough of them last Thursday. They keep the ball well, they spread it well, they're pretty decent in possession. I just like, if we get the first goal, I'll feel a whole lot better about the tie.
That's crucial, Mark, isn't it? That if Celtic get the first goal, kind of ease a bit of nerves, and it'll put more pressure on them to open up then as well, Mark. And then there's more goals to come then, isn't there?
If you get the first goal, that's a tie over for me, Paul.
You know, because as Barry said there, like we really want to be kind of keeping the pressure off our defence as well, Mark, because they are still vulnerable. And
I mean, you're saying we Dan set the team up defensively. Right? I mean, we've spoken about it often enough about like game management, Paul, when it's players on and tighten the game up. But see, even when he's doing that, like taking off, like bringing Sorrow and taking off McGregor, and do you know what I mean? You're like bringing on McCarthy. See, like more physical defensive players to protect you, but the team's still looking for goals.
Goals, exactly.
He's making the changes, like as I say, you bring on your Sorrows and McCarthy to tighten things up. The game's 20 minutes to go, but for the 20 minutes, it's not a case of right. We've got
sit back. Exactly.
Odin midfielders will sit back. We'll still play our same game. We'll still go forward looking for goals. I think that's the formation and the thing will maybe tweak a wee bit, whatever. But I don't think it's for the actual philosophy of the way that he wants the game to be played. I don't think he'll ever change that.
Do you think maybe
a bit of a bummer when it comes to look what happened? Rodgers went toe to toe with PSG.
Exactly.
Like that, but
I think Mark, Ange will have a bit of a football brain there that maybe he can't go toe-to-toe with these teams, and then we could see the likes of McCarthy and Zorro maybe coming into those big games. Do you know what I mean? But as his philosophy, Mark, they're going to still attack. Do you get me? But they'd be kind of more of a defensive cover there. Do you get me?
Maybe nobody's full.
Yeah.
But it'll still be kind of fast moving, the fast pressing and that. But
can you see maybe McCarthy coming in to the start lineup, Mark? Or will you think maybe it'd be more of the same midfield because they're doing so well at the moment?
Oh, I don't know. McCarthy maybe come in and get them ready for Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Do you think he'd play Sunday as well?
If he starts against Alkmaar, I'd say we'd start Sunday. You don't. He's a bit.
And what about the big question again, Mark, for everyone, and Barry mentioned as well, and Mikey's always mentioned it, like, are we going to start with Edouard in the centre again? Because we do lose a bit of fluency, Mark, when he does come on or starts, don't he, Edouard? You know?
No, it's got to be when we talking about for Thursday night.
Yeah.
For Thursday, I Kyogo through the middle again.
You want to kill off the game straight away, Mark? I'd go to say, I'd go Kyogo, wouldn't you?
Well, he's proven it for here. Play him through the middle and he's going to score you goals. Play him out wide and he's maybe not going to score you goals, but he'll still run teams ragged. But play him in the middle, running teams ragged and scoring goals. That would be the ideal. For the new Jacko comes in. Thank good man, Mikey, for coming up with that, because I would have.
What did you do? What would you do, Mikey, on Thursday with the front three?
I'd play Abada, Kyogo, and Christie.
All together.
I didn't think Forrest is any great. I mean, Forrest or Christie, either or starters, I wouldn't be too.
I tell you, lads, like, fair enough, Forrest got the goal there, like, but he isn't up to speed with the pace of Ange's game either, is he, Forrest? Like, considering the pace that he has, Forrest.
Yeah, as well, Paul.
Yeah, it's going to take
cutting him a wee bit of slack out of that. I mean,
I know that, yeah, but like
definitely not lost a bit of pace. And we've spoken about it before. All of the guys that are on it spoke about like his decision making, getting outside or inside and things like that. But
what I'm saying, like, he's not a starter back with Abada there, like, do you know what I mean?
No, Abada's, if Abada's fully fit and Forrest's fully fit, it's Abada every day of the week for me.
Exactly. So I'm not going to go predictions. I think it's too much of a big game, but I fancy Celtic myself to go through, but there's a small bit of caution there, just with our defence. Look, I'm confident that Celtic will go through. The next game is on Thursday. Sunday. Big game, the first Glasgow Derby against Rangers. No Celtic supporters in the stadium. The Rangers saying it's over COVID, but we know they're shitting themselves already. But
bold,
we can't play no different.
Statement that, Paul. That's a bold statement there.
But that's fact. They were waiting for an excuse not to put Celtic fans into the stadium because they're shitting themselves. And I say it no different. COVID or no COVID, there's no problem when they're travelling to matches, is there? Celtic fans only just around the corner. That's the only reason. That's the only way, because they're shitting themselves. No, big game. That is the first Glasgow Derby of the season. Mike, I'll come to you first. How does Ange set up for this? Will Ange be feeling pressure here from because it's the first Glasgow Derby, and does he need to win it?
I don't think he'll be feeling any pressure. Like he says, he's managed. Like people need to realise as well, and the press will be jumping all over it. But he's did managed loads of big games in the past. But, I mean, the biggest stage in the world's the World Cup, and he's managed there and did no bad for Australia and that. And the press will try and put pressure on that, but that guy will not be fazed by that game. I mean, look at the opponents, like he says, at the start of the season that they've had. You can only play what's in front of you. And what we're playing in front of us just now, isn't it? Like he says, last season they got away with murder, like he says, behind closed doors. Like he says, if they start off ropey on Sunday and go 1-0 down, and then the fans turn on them, and like you says, Paul, the players will shite themselves.
Because I think that's key. If we, as I've written down here, if Celtic start from the start the way we play, all right, and we put them under pressure, and if we get the first goal, their fans will be on their backs, and Rangers won't have to handle that. And we saw that already this season. They can't handle their fans on their backs. So it's crucial, Barry, that Celtic get the first goal in this game.
I think the game plan for Ange will be to go out and completely control the game. Celtic, he'll want Celtic to go out and get a hold of that midfield, get a hold of the tempo, get a hold of the ball, and control the game from the start. If the Celtic can do that, I don't see any problems for us on Sunday. I think we've got too much for them. It's two very different styles of play, Gerrard's style and Ange's style. And if we can go and really dictate the play and take the game to Rangers, I said it before, I don't think any club in Scotland can live with what we are doing just now. And I include Rangers in that. But, it remains to be seen. We've got to go and do the business. It's all right us saying that, but we've got to go and do the business. But I'm confident that if we can go and, like I say, take a stranglehold in the game, let our good players dictate the tempo of the game and keep the tempo that we've been playing, I just cannot see how they can live with us. I really can't.
That's it. That's the main thing, Mark, that we have to play the way we've progressed to play. There's no reason for us to change our system because it's Rangers. We play the game that we've been playing since the Dundee game, really. That's when this team started to click, since the Dundee game. And if we keep playing since then, we should be able to grab this game by the skin of its neck and did take, as Barry said, the tempo of the game.
That's why
Rangers won't be able to handle us.
That's why I think McCarthy might start on Thursday with the start
because
game.
Because we've lost the midfield battles, Mark, in recent games, and we need someone there like the last.
We need a Scott Brown replacement in that kind of midfield battle. Do you know what I mean? McCarthy is that type of player. He's going to add
someone's toughness and who can tackle there, Mark. Yeah, exactly.
My only worry about McCarthy is, and you know what I feel about McCarthy, the regard I hold him in, he's had literally no game time whatsoever. He's played maybe 10, 15 minutes or each time. And so he's had no pre-season games. His fitness, will not be a problem because you can run all day, but actual match fitness is a wee bit of concern because he's literally had no pre-season games. So I don't know how you balance that. Do you throw him in from the start against Alkmaar? He might very well do, but I don't know. I kind of was hoping that he might play against St Mirren at the weekend to give him 90 minutes, but I don't know what happened. He wasn't
off the bench.
He wasn't on the bench, Mark.
That's what I mean. I was surprised.
So I don't know what happened there. If he's maybe got a wee knock or whatever, but I'll be interested to see because, like I said, McCarthy would probably be ready-made to step in. He's the type of player you'd want Ibrox, isn't he? But whether he's ready or not to go and start the game.
Midfield general into that, but you kind of call him to get there. I mean, it was like we get bullied. Even it was like Andy Hall.
Exactly.
We get bullied? McCarthy's not going to let you get bullied in these type of games.
Because that's it, Mark. Because
flair players. I mean, Turn
the likes of
doesn't mind a tackle either. McGregor can be a wee tough nut, but it's a bit. Some of his tackles can be a bit reckless.
And Mark, this is like you could put it too. Like this is the first Glasgow Derby that we had now since Scott Brown left, and we were all saying that Scott Brown slows down the game. I know Scott Brown's not there. That we're able to play our tempo, and we shouldn't worry about what Rangers are trying to do. But my key thing here is that our experienced players like Joe Hart, Cal McGregor, Tom Roderick, these lads who've been there, Christie, need to get all these new players and young players to keep a level head, not to get involved in Rangers antics like Morales trying to look for a free kick, trying not to get involved in that stuff like Scott Brown used to. Do you get me? We just need to be concentrating on our own game because these lads will go down and look for penalties. We can't be giving away silly free kicks or silly tackles in the box either. That's going to play a big part in this game as well, I think.
You just need to look at the teams, right? And this isn't just it's facts. It's common sense, right? Look at the Rangers squad and then look at Celtic's just now and put the 11, their best 11 against our best 11, right? And let's be honest here, right?
There's no pace in that team.
Gets into Celtic starting 11 right now.
Not one.
And that's not me trying to be bitter. It's just being truthful. There's not one Rangers player in that whole team that would get into Celtic starting 11 just now. So if Celtic just keep playing the way that they're playing, especially McGregor, they're all wanting him dropped anyway. So
that weak link is gone, Mark. You get me?
But last year that was probably you'd have said, into McGregor gave his due. He's been a good keeper. But I've seen him this season as well. He's not the keeper he's been the last couple of years. JFP goes on about it. He told his laddie that when they signed McGregor back, he's going to be worth 25, whatever it was.
But he's struggled this season, Mark.
He's really, for what I've seen him, he's really struggling.
Even the high balls, he seems
That's
to
why,
be.
like, when we're talking about McCarthy and that, and like I say, I've been wanting Celtic to sign McCarthy for years. But I just think Celtic just need to play the way they've been playing.
Exactly.
Like I said, if they play the way they've been playing, what is like their defence going to do? Has anybody seen that Calvin Bassett? You better have Shirley Bassett at the back than him, eh?
If we play,
You know what I mean?
if we play the way we've been playing and they play the way they've been playing, we'll pump them.
But that's what I'm saying. That's going back to Mark that
They need to.
we should get involved.
for
Yeah,
this. We just need to
they
continue what we're doing, but
we should be getting involved in the way Rangers play. Just play our own game, and we did because if we play the tempo, Mark, they're not going to be able to keep up with us because
I mean,
they're not a fast team. They're not fast.
that Tavernier, he's honking. I don't care what anybody says. He is honking. It's all going to. I mean, I draw the short straw. I need to keep an eye on the Rangers live chat things and all that. And they give pelters on that every single game. I mean, you know, do you get what I mean? I don't really bother what Rangers fans are saying. That's where I get most of what their opinions come from. But even they were on the other day, how's this guy getting in? Is that Patterson, the young player Patterson, they're going about? And they're going on about how Tavernier is getting in the team in front of him and things like that. I mean, how's Tavernier going to handle somebody like Abada?
Exactly.
Oh, you'll rip him a new arsehole.
It'd be like Abada's probably. What's that fella's name, Mark, in Still Game that places the bookies? He's always placing the bets.
Winston
be up to fucking the ring. He must be shitting yourselves.
Yeah, but that's what like going back to like he says, and I've said it before, and I've said it in the live chat today. Remember when Scott Sinclair used to play against Tavernier?
Mm-hmm.
What used to happen? It's exactly what's going to happen when Abada and that swap wings on Sunday, because he can't defend.
No,
At all.
Point about can he? I feared we going about players. Oh, they're good going forward and things like that. But see, be honest as well, he isn't that good going forward either.
It was
I
like a
think
world
he's good at
record for
Marcus taking
penalties.
a
Like.
penalty. That's it. Penalties.
Yeah, he takes penalties.
You know, but it's crucial though that Barry we turn their fans against them, because I think Rangers will start bottling it then again if their fans turn against them. And I think the pressure's more on Gerrard now than it is on Ange.
Well, I mean, you're seeing the early signs already. Now that the fans are back in, and you know they've had 2 or 3 poor results, and you know you listen to the phone-ins, and there's fans already, you know, believe it or not, calling for his head. There's no doubt, you know, without going back over old ground, there's no doubt. I'll say it again. Celtic really suffered badly without the fans being in the stadiums last year, and Rangers thrived. They benefited not having their own fans on their back. Well, Sunday's going to be a prime example. Like I say, if we can get a hold of that game and really take it to them, their fans are going to be right on their backs. Then we'll see how they deal with it. And like you say, Paul, if we go a goal ahead, see how they handle the pressure. But I think the way we are playing just now, it could and should be a relatively comfortable afternoon for it. It doesn't always work out like that when it's a Glasgow Derby. But I just, you know, I've got confidence. I've got more confidence on Sunday than I do on Thursday.
Like,
whole feeling between the fans compared to last season, you know, these games is night and day as well, isn't it? I mean, if people, a couple of guys have said to me, "Oh, you're jumping the gun a bit here and that," and like that. No, I'm not jumping the gun a bit. I can't believe the Celtic team that I'm watching now. I can't.
Like, Mark, is going back to, I mean, you talked about it, Mark. Who have they signed? Free transfers. They haven't really invested in their squad. They're bringing in people on free transfers. Like
players. And nobody's wanting. I'm not saying nobody's wanting them. Nobody's going to pay the money that they're looking for. I mean,
I think we need to.
Ryan wanting it, sir.
And what's his name? Kamara wants out. The Finnish lad wants out.
They're just putting these crazy prices on them that nobody's going to fork up for.
Yeah. I was going to say, do you think? He obviously says Mark he hasn't been on the moon and stuff like that, but it's going to be the first time Ange and a lot of these Celtic players feel this toxic atmosphere that will be around us because there's no Celtic fans there. At the start, like, that could play to some benefit to Rangers, but it's come down to the experienced lads to get the young lads to kind of put that to the back ahead and concentrate in the game from the start. And this, like the likes of Hart has been there before with Man City. Like, these lads,
Aye.
they have to play a big role here, Mark, don't they?
You see the pre-game huddle, and you see McGregor, Ball,
Mhm.
and even you've seen Joe Hart gone as well. That's what we're talking about, the kind of experience these guys can bring to the team. So I mean, Joe Hart's played in some of the biggest games in the world. Do you know what? I'm even doing like the money side of the game, whatever you want to call it. But the Manchester derbies, England's played in some hellholes. I mean, in away games and like Eastern Europe and places like that. So the atmosphere's not going to get to guys like Joe Hart. That's just blank. The experienced players. I'm sure even Mike will tell you, we Kyogo, there's probably a few tasty kind of games that way here in Japan as well, Mikey. The atmosphere's that kind of on top of you and heavy going kind of thing, sir.
That's what, like, says, going over to the J League, and I've said it before. Like the team he just came for, get 70,000 every other week, like it says, and
they'll
whether it's
rivals, and as I say, it'll get a bit Arabocious into it.
there's like 10.
The away team be coming over Japan. The away team come over and hoover up the home team seating area.
Aye, but there'll still be derbies there that matter to people. Look, well,
Like 10.
Kyogo's not going to understand. I don't mean this. I maybe said, but Kyogo's not going to understand a word any of them. See, do you know what I mean? When he's going to take a free kick, they can really shout anything they want, and he's not going to have a clue what they're shouting at him. So just be water off a duck's back to these kind of, you know what I mean? Level of players that got experience in big games everywhere about the world.
Like I said, the top 4 teams in Japan, the smallest stadium's 50,000.
Is that right, Mikey? Aye.
Yeah. Like it says, the team that he came for, 73,000. Urawa Red Diamonds, 64,000.
Is that what they use the stadiums for?
Yeah. And then you've got Tokyo and San Threes, with 50,000 as well. So I mean, like, and like you say, they're full. Like I said, the guys over in the neck of the wood, they love the football. Like,
Did you see the video on Twitter? I think it was a game about the MLS or something like that, and the boy cracked the woman. The fans, it was like a guy and a woman up like the stands sitting, and the next thing he took words, the big boy just turned around and just clattered that woman.
Jesus, so it was the same there with the French league there the weekend there, Marseille and things, yeah.
Imagine that harmed at a derby.
Jesus Christ, I mean, the whole derby game's be banned for the season. Speaking about fans' violence, and we're moving on, and we just have the live chat to be mindful of what they print up on the live chat. Celtic have released a statement condoning the behaviour of Rangers supporters travelling on a bus on their way to the game against Rock County at the weekend. They were singing racist chants towards Celtic forward Kyogo Furuhashi. This behaviour is disgusting, and it's about time Celtic stood up and demanded action, a proper investigation by the Scottish FA, Scottish Police and Rangers. Rangers have since come out with a statement banning the supporters club they come for, and just come out and said Celtic have to protect Kyogo, saying that he feels bad for the player, that he brought him here, and this atmosphere shouldn't be happening. Mike, I come to you first because I know you spoke to us before on the podcast about racial abuse that your friend Jonas received at Soccer Message. If you want to come in first on this.
Yeah, it's an absolute disgrace, but what I'll like say is Rangers seem to be getting plaudits for the way that they've acted on it. What else were they meant to do, like? I mean, well done, you've banned fans that have been racist chanting.
Well, there hasn't been no apology to Kyogo from Rangers. That's a big issue, yeah.
But like I said, like, when are we going to bring it up? In the last 3 weeks, I'm not going to mention names and that because I do hate social media, so I help work for other guys and that. There's been hundreds of tweets directed at Kyogo himself, pictures and everything, and Rangers fans and everything, doing exactly what was on the bus, and it's all been directly at, if you want, at Rangers Football Club. So this has been going on for weeks, and the only reason that they've stepped in and did anything now is because it's in the mainstream
Gone
media.
viral. Yeah.
That's the only reason it's viral. If that never went viral, what would they have did? Do you think that they would have came at themselves with a statement? Yes, it's good what they did. Well, what else were they meant to do?
They had to do it. They were forced into doing it, basically, Mikey. They were.
What should happen now, Mark? Mikey, should the police now come in and prosecute these lads? Their identities have been named, you know what I mean?
Well, it wasn't hard, like it says, because on
exactly.
The guy says, I'm not going to mention his name because we're on this, but I know his address is already posted out on the Google. The guy's name. You know what I mean? Because the Snapchat name, if you look at the pictures on the Daily Record and the Sun, his name's literally at the top of the Snapchat picture. So all you need to do is type in his name and then Scotland or Snapchat and it'll come up his account. That's obviously been banned now. So he never exactly made it hard for him to find. But like you say, this has been going on for weeks and weeks and weeks. So, plaudits for what they've done regarding this. But what about the other weeks of abuse that's been directed at Rangers to try and do something about it, which they haven't?
No, because when they came out with this campaign, I can't remember what it's called, Anybody, Anywhere or something like that, but it was like, these people, if they step out of line, they'll get sent on this programme we're running. Do you know what I mean? Are they going to force these guys to go on this course that they do before they get any chance to get their ticket back? I mean,
that's me. You're
banned indefinitely. How can you say they're banned? How can you come back for that? If you get caught doing something...
Not just them, but the supporters club, Mark, they brought shame in their supporters club as well, because...
I mean, Paul, if you've seen the video...
It's disgusting.
No, it wasn't just one or two daffy...
No, it's the whole bus.
They'll follow the drink. Do you get...
I think my problem with
Right, our supporters bus was notorious for Hamilton, right? It was notorious. But there was lines you didn't cross. And see, young guys getting on the bus full of the scoops and things like that. See, if they did actually say, they get a wee clip round the ear and tell, do you know what I mean? I mean, we all know it's on the supporters buses, but there's always been a line, Mikey, isn't there? There's always a line you don't cross on us when you're coming to singing songs.
Me and Jonas were talking about it earlier.
Yeah, I just want to ask you what was Jonas said about it, Mikey.
Speaking to Jonas, because Jonas will probably be on in the next couple of shows anyway, if you're getting him on.
Next week, the end of the pod, the end of the month, yeah.
We will bring it up with Jonas, but Mikey...
Well, we were talking about, we said it for years. You're not born a racist or a bigot. No, you're not born it. You've been brought up into it.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. People say, it's just a few stupid guys that have had a drink and that. At what point in your life is it acceptable after having a pint to do the actions that they were doing?
It's not
people trying to use blame.
Because,
sorry, go on. Just blaming drink and drugs for. Like says, you just need to go on their actual because after something like this, I like to go on the other side's page, and I want to actually see what they're actually saying about it. Because you can still see their comments on the other side, still trying to say, "Oh well, but it's all right when the other side do it." They can't they can't just admit they're wrong. They've always got to try and dig up something.
What other side? What other side is there? Because I can't remember any racist abuse from Celtic fans towards any player in Scotland like this.
No, there has been isolated incidents over the years. Nobody's disputing that, and they're all going about the thing with Mark Walters for years ago. But I mean, you're talking 30 odd years ago.
That's different times, Mark. Do you know what I mean? Times have changed. There was riots up in the north. There was the whole Catholic and Rangers thing. You know what I mean?
It's acceptable what happened to Mark Walters. I was only a boy at the time, but I knew it was wrong. I knew it was wrong to just abuse anybody because of the colour of their skin, or even because of their religion. I mean,
that's what I mean.
They have this preconception of some idea that we get took to school and I mean, honestly, basically, they think we get learn see that fuck the Queen and that, right? Here, start singing these IRA songs, and that's the kind of mentality of these people. They think we get taught at school to hate Protestants. That's what
came up in one Twitter account.
I mean, that's bonkers.
Look what you've been teaching in your Catholic schools. Does that not play a part? I was never brought up to hate people in my class.
Oh,
it was only a few years ago at their stadium where Scott Sinclair scored the penalty at the other side away from the Celtic supporters, and remember the guy in the crowd with the gestures? You know what I mean? And they've got to try and pick up drivel for back in the 80s, where guys were, like, says it, and there was a lot on education back then. Let's not beat about the bush, like, yeah, it was frowned upon. It wasn't, you know what I mean? Different era.
Aye.
You know what I mean? And, but yeah, like I says, if Rangers, like I say, surely they're not that stupid to think that that's just an isolated incident. Like it says, and until they actually look into the previous, like it says, and I've got the pictures on my computer right in front of us, like, you're talking like 26 pictures for different people on about Kyogo. 26. So what are they going to do with it? Because until they actually hold their hands up and say, we're going to investigate this, they're going to be getting still plummeted about the internet.
Barry,
sorry, Mark. I'm just, Mikey, they're not going to investigate it. Because that, really, I mean, it's still the old bigotry.
Because of Rangers banned them now, Mark. Yeah, because the club's banned them now and stuff. That is going to be brushed under the mat and everything in this.
But see if after all the liquidation, that Sevco stuff, see if Rangers came out and said, "Oh, that forget about that. Don't come in here and start singing anti-Catholic, anti-Irish, racist, anything songs. You're only welcome." But you'll be getting banned. That club would never have got to where it got to last season. That's what they kind of. I mean, their PR man used to work for the DUP. Right, so they're right away. The guy's an absolute clown. Do you know what I mean? They've got doing their PR. If that club didn't have the foundations of this kind of vileness, they wouldn't exist. They wouldn't exist to the levels that they are.
And I think, Barry, my main concern is now for the well-being of Kyogo on Sunday when he's in the stadium, the abuse that maybe he will receive from the stands on Sunday night box.
Oh, you know what? I'm sure it'll come, Paul. But I mean, like kind of Mark touched on earlier, hopefully he just doesn't understand exactly what they're trying to say to him. I know that it can make sense, but like you guys, I mean, you've gone over it. It's sad. It's disgusting. It's probably in line with what we're used to associating with the club. Listen, not all fans are.
Was any of you surprised really when the videos came out?
No, it wasn't there.
Absolutely not. I mean, but it's sad. You know what? And I think quite a powerful statement was made to me personally from someone who has no knowledge of football or anything, who turned around and says, you know what, it's sad that we have to bring our children up in a world where these people exist. And I think that's all I'm going to say on that matter, because I think that statement that I got told yesterday, that was powerful.
Yeah, that sums it up. Yeah, that's it. Like, in this day and age, like outside football, that this still goes on in the world in this day and age, it's just shocking, Mark. And it is, like, outside football as well. Like, it's just ridiculous, like,
to be honest, Paul, I don't mean this any offence or cheek to you, right? You're over there in Ireland, and that we're here in Scotland. It's just kind of normal, Paul.
Yeah,
you're just
and I don't. That's it, and I don't see it. Like,
these digs and everything. And I mean, right? I get sent a link today to one who's what to do with this with Kyogo, and somebody. It was to one of the big Rangers sites in that, right? Pure cesspit of a place, right? But you can get a good laugh at it sometimes. Right, so I went on and looked, and it was about this Kyogo. And somebody had compared it. Somebody says we need to, right? Obviously, the boy took pelters out because he says, I'm 55-year-old, been to Ibrox I've been to Ibrox for 60 years, but I'm only 55. Do you know what I mean? One of the ones. And he said, get this dealt with between us fans. He says, oh, that's racism. He says, even songs like the Billy Boys and stuff like that. And one of the main comments was, you can't compare slagging Kyogo to the Billy Boys. So you can't compare slagging somebody because they're Japanese to talking about being up to your knees in somebody's blood. That's not terrible. Do you get that?
Yeah.
What the level of acceptance actually is here? Do you know what I mean?
And what's even more insulting about the whole thing? The lack of education. He's Japanese. Everything that they've been going on about is in reference to China. they're that dumb that even when they're trying to be racist, they're going on about different countries. You know what I mean? So that's what you're up against with these clowns, eh? And like it says, what was it? It says the matter's now closed, Rangers. That's what it says in the statement tonight. Yeah.
It's not closed, Mark, because that's just brushing the thing under the table, like.
See if they wanted to deal with this, Paul. Right. One of the kind of excuses, it was even down to that stuff that went on in George Square and that, or how can you arrest 50,000 people singing we're up to our knees in Fenian blood? You don't. You can't lift 10 of them.
Mm-hmm. Make an example of them.
The folk round about them that saw the 10 getting lifted, they're not going to sing it next week in case they get lifted. And see if there is folk singing it next week, can and lift some more of them.
But have the Scottish FA come out and said anything about this behaviour? Because I saw nothing.
I've not seen anything for them. They'll be hiding under a blanket waiting in Dougie Park phoning them.
See, that's the problem, like, you know what I mean? Like, the higher governments never come in and make these issues go away. Like, they just brush them even under the table, like, you know?
About how, like, Kyogo would feel and things like that. But, I mean, think how Ange feels coming into a country.
That's what he said, his statement today, Mark, wanted you.
I'm looking at a bit he said that caught my eye. I'm trying to look for what it was he said, Paul.
He bombed to the country and he...
It's not about education, and people are more than well aware of what's right and wrong. Just be a decent human being and treat people with respect. But
yeah.
That's what we get taught at school. That's basically what we get taught at our Catholic schools.
But it's going down to what Mikey said, Mark, like it's genetic. It's bred into them from their families, and it's moving down the family tree every time.
Aye, that's,
you know,
say schools, sectarian school systems, you know, that's part of it. It's no, you learn that stuff in the house. You learn all that hatred for your parents and your older brothers and sisters and your peers. I mean, I'm not saying I've not sang some dodgy songs when I was younger. I don't think anybody can hold their hands up and say they haven't. Do you know what I mean? But as you get older, you...
That's banter, Mark. Do you mean those songs are a bit of banter?
No, I'll admit it, Paul. I sung some terrible songs probably back in the day, and I'm not using drink. But do you know what I mean? You get caught up in moments and just things. But I'm getting back when I was a young teenager and do you know what I mean? You learn as you get older.
Yeah, exactly. These fellas, Mark, weren't young. That's the problem.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
You know what? They had plenty to say about 4 months ago when Glenn Kamara was racially abused. They had plenty to say about it. Well, it'll be interesting to see what they say now.
And we stood by him, Barry, Scott.
And rightly so. And rightly so, because there's just no place for it in any walk of life. Never mind football. Any walk of life, there's no place for any kind of racism. You know, we need to move away from beyond that.
Stephen Gerrard or some of the backroom staff, Gary McAllister, should come up to Kyogo on Sunday and say something to him. We apologise for some of our fans said as a good, but you know it's not going to happen. That's not what Rangers Football Club do, is it, Mark? Do you know?
Oh, I don't know. To be honest, but I wouldn't like to be kind of skeptical if they did do it and think, is this another wee PR stunt? If they've come out the night and says that's a matter closed, why would they come out and do that on Sunday? I mean, if they come out and apologise to Kyogo, nobody's even come out and apologised.
No, exactly.
The picture of the wee boy. I mean, they were trying to palm it off it wasn't members of the bus that were on it.
I'm surprised they didn't try to put a BG something onto it or something like that.
They said some of the things I read, they said that the guys that were doing it, they weren't the members of the bus. Well, it was half the bus for a start that were doing it.
Exactly.
One of them had put up some wee Snapchat message or whatever you call it, and it was him apologising to the people on the bus. And he was standing back for being on the committee of the bus. So how's that know somebody's part of the bus? And people are going on, it's a bit harsh not giving the bus away tickets. If you're taking a bus full of Celtic supporters somewhere, you're responsible for them. You're responsible for their behaviour. Because see if you get pulled with the police, see if you're a convener, it's you that gets the fine. It's a personal fine to you if you're the convener of that bus.
Right, folks, we leave it at that. Mark, if anything else you want to add on, or Mikey or Barry?
No, I'm fine. Just thanks everybody for joining us. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and if you've get the technical capabilities, please leave a comment, because that helps us move up the YouTube algorithm.
Hey, lads. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks a lot, Barry and Mikey as well. Hail, hail. Huh? Aye.